Welcome to this Tax Minute. In today's special, I'm going to teach you and explain to you how to make tax payments. There's an actual science in making tax payments, and the reason is that if the tax payment is not properly performed or done, it's not going to be applied to your tax account. And even though you made a tax payment, you will probably receive a letter saying you did not pay your taxes. If you filed a tax extension, an extension for filing your federal income tax returns, for instance, remember, that extension is only applicable for the filing. It's not going to be applicable for the payments. Now, let's assume that you have the funds ready to make a tax payment. What do you do? There's two main ways in which you can make a tax payment. The first one, which is the one that's more common, if you will, for the previous seasons, if you will, is your typical check. So how do you make a payment with a check? You cannot just go in and send in a check. How do you draft the check? First, the check has to be paid to the United States Treasury, and it has to be sent alongside a form. Now, which form? The form depends on the tax return you file. For instance, if you file Form 1040, then the voucher is Form 1040-V. How do you get access to this form? Type it in Google. Form 1040-V. If your form is 1120, because it's a corporation, for instance, 1120-V, V as in voucher. Make the check payable to the United States Treasury, put it in the same envelope, send it via certified mail, and make sure that in the memo of the check you put in not only the form you're filing, which in this particular case would be 1040, but also the period you're filing it. Calendar year 2021, for instance. Finally, make sure that in that check you type in your taxpayer identification number, for instance, a social security number if it's yours, or a individual taxpayer identification number for a foreigner, an EIN, whatever. Okay, so that is the common one. I do not recommend you use this one because even if you do all of that, they might misapply the payment. The second way of doing it is when you get almost an instant feedback and you get a payment record. Now, how do you do that? Here's what I want you to do. You're going to go to irs.gov/payments. That's it, irs.gov/payments. It's going to take you to a website that provides the different ways in which the IRS accepts payment. Now, you can set up and sign in into your online tax account from the IRS. It allows you to use a system called Direct Pay. Now, to use Direct Pay, what do you need? You need a bank account. And it's basically like an ACH payment. You type in your account number, the total, the period, the form, and the reason you say it's my income tax, enter, and you will see the withdrawal from your bank account. It also allows for you to be able to pay with a card. So if you don't have the money, that's not a reason for you not to make the tax payment if you have some other source of funds. Remember, it's always better to owe somebody else other than the government. The government is a super creditor. So if you want to pay with a credit card, you can do it. Now, there's fees for doing that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. My preferred form is Eftps, which is a form. It's a website that you have to actually create a profile. But the amazing thing about that website is that once you create the payment and you've been verified, then making payments is as little as 2 clicks, and you have a payment history for life of every payment you have made ever. So you will never have the issue of, okay, I have to relog in, whatever. This is super clean, and there is a record, which is what we're looking for. Finally, you cannot make the payment. You say, there's no way I already spent my money, I cannot make the payment. It provides you an option to apply for a payment plan. So there's different kinds of payment plans. Typically, they're divided into accounts, depending on how much you owe, but you can also do it there. Eftps, you'll see a website, kind of looks, well, it's telling me here that the session expired, but this is the Eftps website, if you can see it. Here, ACI payment. Oh, by the way, let me explain to you how the payment works. If you're gonna make it with a credit card, you go into a third-party payment processor. This is not the IRS. They actually take the payment from you, and they are going to charge you depending on what you used to pay. If you use a debit card, they're going to charge between $2.20 to $2.56 per payment. And if you use a credit card, between 1.87% and 1.98%. So debit card is a lot cheaper, typically. Again, they're third-party processors. Direct Pay, it's an IRS website. You put in the reason for payment, what you want it applied to, and the period. And in order to determine your payment history and all of that, you may want to log into your IRS account. That's as far as how to make payments. Again, check or irs.gov/payments to get all of these tools. I want to mention one final thing. The IRS has an app, which is called IRS To Go. You download it off of the Google Play Store, I think, or the Apple Store, whatever. You download the app, and it will take you to these websites. So you can make the payment out of there, and you can also check your refund status and do some other things. It's not a great app, but at least it helps doing that. Now, for the second part of today's Tax Minute, I want to talk about the latest criminal case that was published by the Criminal Investigations Division of the IRS, so that it doesn't know, because this is something that's becoming very common. Let me go back a little bit. Banks are regulated entities. Typically, banks are not allowed to do whatever they want. They have to ask you some questions whenever you want to open up a bank account. Now, what is this case about? Some people decided that they wanted to start selling virtual currency. Virtual currency is an everyday thing now. And they lied to the bank saying, this is not going to be virtual currency. This is going to be for receiving donations to a church. So the bank opened up the bank account, and they did it knowing that if the bank knew that they were selling virtual currency, then the bank was going to close the bank account. It seems as a harmless thing, but it is not. So they started a criminal case against them. One thing that I found funny was that the name of the entity was Crypto Church. And it's a New Hampshire entity. And what ended up happening, of course, is that they were charged with what we called wire fraud. And now they're facing a criminal case, and the trial is set for November 1st. We're going to follow up on this and tell you whatever happens. One of them has already pled guilty, and the charges for wire fraud can be up to 20 years in federal prison. So what do we learn out of this case? Don't lie to a bank whenever you want to open up a bank account. Even if it's for virtual currency, make sure you say the truth. Otherwise, you may be facing wire fraud charges. Take care.